the mic was off. Monday, February 1st. It was 11:11 a.m. I was trying to hit it on that, but it's 11:15 a.m. and I am your eccentric and slightly time-displaced audio journey host. What? Audio podcast journey. Why am I trying to say the word journey in that? I have been on hiatus and we're back.
Good morning, Trumptopia.
That was the wrong show music. Hopefully this is the right show music. You know what show it is. It's your favorite wackadoodle, crazy, cuckoo, new age.
Hello, and namaste. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode.
Thank you for making it.
I am your humble host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo.
So am I.
Let's get started.
Indeed. Let's begin. January was a brutal year, but we all made it. Here we are, friends, surviving the end of the world 1 minute at a time. It's February 1st, and today is the 404th episode of the Almost Daily ZenCast. I don't know how accurate that number actually is, because as some of you might know, there was a clusterfuck moment of indecision early on where I had deleted a bunch of episodes I had previously posted and then promptly misplaced them digitally in my filing cabinet of digital files. So, irregardless, I tried to look up the number 404 and there didn't seem to be any going, in the text predict drop down on Google. There weren't any for 404, but spiritual meaning of 444, there's a bunch. So people search this is all that I'm saying. It's like, that's interesting. I'm always fascinated by that. It's kind of meaningless, but it's also kind of bizarrely a thing to take note of. But people had Googled spiritual meaning of 444 in love, biblical, Joanne, just the name Joanne. Maybe Joan of Arc, I'm guessing. Doreen Virtue. Put a pin in that, because she's sort of like an interesting person of interest as far as the podcast goes. I'd love to have her on the show and interview her, but I don't think she'd be a big fan of some of the questions I want to ask her. Not that I want to ask her any rude, probing questions, but I'm fascinated by the turn of events in her career. And by some of her artwork, right? Like some of her tarot decks, but that's neither here nor there. Spiritual meaning of 444 on YouTube, because YouTube is the bastion of truth and the arbiter of what is real. What? No. I just like to poke a little fun. I'm on YouTube. I have 2 YouTube channels. One of which I have done absolutely nothing with. The other of which is sort of like the grand repository of all things the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo. Except I fucked that up too. But you can go check them out. Just Google Mr. Zeppo on YouTube. You should find one or the other. And then I think I figured out a way to link them together. Internets. So I might read about spiritual meaning of 444, especially in anticipation for the actual 404th episode. But as of right now, as of the way things stand on my Sprecher account, thank you, Sprecher.com, for being the host. It is now 444 minutes into the show. Bing! The host platform for the show. I could literally open the show with, brought to you by, although they're not paying me to do that. And I probably shouldn't do that, because that might technically be in violation of some sort of subclause of the end user license agreement. Which I don't land on randomly, if I may. Public service announcement and or warning. End user license agreements are sort of kind of legally binding user contracts that you engage in whenever you click yes without reading the thing so that you can use the product. You're sort of agreeing to what those terms describe. And in the whole mumbo jumbo, wrapped in all kinds of legal jargon and complex, annoyingly obtuse language, so annoying to read that most people can't be bothered, is the essential set of boundaries and waiving of your otherwise normal rights in lieu of these things, because you're agreeing to the terms as presented to you by the corporation, which has rights, right? Everybody over there on the right wing of the political ideological echo chamber, y'all fought to defend corporations' rights when it was cool. Now that it's not cool, because that some corporations have decided to say, all right, enough orange crazy man, because he's not green. Why did I say that? Oh, because I've been thinking about the Hulk a lot. Put a pin in that. That's not random, necessarily. But I digress. Good morning, friends. It's been a bit. I literally took a hiatus to escape and sort of disentangle myself. And I didn't do that great of a job because I was still sort of on Facebook a lot. But I was very passive. I was very sort of just the things that really caught my eye, and I wasn't getting stuck on too much. And oh wow, too many thoughts at once. I want to take a moment to contemplate that statement that claims to be sage wisdom about not throwing pearls at swine. But that brings up a whole avenue of thought that there's a lot of memeing. There's a lot of memes getting passed around, especially the ones I'm thinking of right now in my head, right, are the ones in the spiritual community that seem to me to be wary, that people should be wary of. But that's a whole other subject. Where are we? It's been a fascinatingly weird and long and exhausting month of January. Has it not? Ooh, I totally forgot. I was supposed to be doing this every now. Sorry if I just got crazy louder in your ear holes. It's because people were formally complaining that they couldn't hear me because I had the volume set at whatever the default was. And on some people's devices, that's not loud enough. So I have been adjusting, and I forgot to do it just then until right this hot second. At any rate, the hiatus was, simply put, to kind of purge my mind. I was getting a little burnt out. The echo chambers are getting a little tedious. And the simple fact that basically I kind of can sound like a broken record because I'm here to do many things on this earth, as are you, my friends. Never underestimate that. And sometimes we walk the earth without knowing what any of those things are. For me, one of the many things that I'm feel very strongly about, that I'm sort of supposed to be doing while here, is pointing down the middle way. And so that gets really redundant. It's like people are arguing. There's two extremes. Insert your favorite things to be arguing about here. And basically, I got to come at it with a little bit of boilerplate of hey, y'all, your extremities are intractable. They neither can obliterate each other because they create one another, and nor can you actually ever resolve this conflict by clinging to them. Since you are not those extremes, you are a person, and you are both equally capable of treading the middle path, which is eminently much more wonderful, generally speaking. So not to say that that's the answer to everything, but it certainly is a big, huge, important theme in the show. So I hope you don't get tired of me expressing that idea in some form or fashion. Buckle yourselves in, friends. If you're new, welcome to the show. It doesn't work the way you think it does. It's not necessarily meant to be consumed in chronological order, although I guess you could. One online acquaintance of mine once said to me that they were about to endeavor to listen to the show from beginning to end, as if it was, a sequential, episodic, a thing that you would binge on Netflix or whatever streaming platform you prefer. And I was like, oof, I mean, that's a bold move, but you don't have to. You're more than welcome, friends, to just hop around, catch the latest thing, right? Obviously, you're here. It's supposed to be like a radio show. So if it's today's episode, it's today's episode. Welcome to the show. And then just hop around, like go backwards in time and jump around to titles and segments that appeal. And now I can see you over there. DJ Zed's giving me that look. Here comes at you a little bit of audio entertainment, DJ'd and loopified by the... we haven't picked a name for you yet, huh? Not a name, but a moniker. I digress. The animatronic DJ Zed. He doesn't like that one. He thinks it's what would be the right construction of the term for being anti-animatronic beings? It doesn't matter. Here comes Nocturnal Beats Groove Pad. Understated yet too much. The fuck kind of title is that, DJ Zed? I don't understand, but I hope it sounds good. What a world, what a world, what a world. To quote the Wicked Witch of the whatever direction she was from. Programming note, dear friends. The incorrigible Mr. Zeppo's totally irrelevant media review segment is gonna come back and come back strong this year because I'm tired of not doing it. I've been holding out of doing that because it seems frivolous and, as you may have inferred from the title, totally irrelevant. But I still have a passion for commenting on media, despite the fact that movies and TV shows should be increasingly unimportant as we ever stridently encroach the truly, truly end of times. Not in the biblical sense, but in the we are destroying the platform that gives life to us kind of way. Right? Like we slowly destroy the planet and watch a lot of movies. Great. Cool. Wow. But I still feel like, maybe I shouldn't be such an alarmist because maybe it's not really that close to the end times yet. Then maybe we can still turn it around and make everything really green. But I digress. The programming note is this. Next time on the Incorrigible Mr. Zeppo's totally irrelevant movie. Oh, not movie. We call it media reviews now because it's movies and other stuff. WandaVision, pure genius, totally worth watching the entire MCU in chronological timeline order to be primed and ready to watch it. If you're that big of a nerd and you're living in that level of like, okay, your life's not that fucked up yet, you can still have Disney Plus streaming on your interwebs, rock on for you, not criticizing, like 5 minutes ago I wasn't able to do that. Then something happened and I was. I'm kidding. I'm just saying the world is fucked up. There's millions of people on this planet that can't. There's millions of people on this planet that can't listen to this podcast. So we can get into that in a later point in time. Do it. Watch it. Even if you're not into the MCU. Like, you never watched the MCU before and you're listening to my podcast and you have access to Disney Plus, or you can give it to yourself for about a month. Like, buy 1 month of Disney Plus. If that's all you can, do. Like, it's expensive. And honestly, unless you have got kids, or you're a huge Disney nerd, and I'm not dissing Disney nerds, like a huge Disney nerd, there's only so many movies on there that you really want to watch. But this whole process, totally worth it. Gonna talk about it in depth on that forthcoming episode of my own randomly selected titles that I talk about and break down and discuss. I'm really passionate about WandaVision for various reasons. As a piece of pop cultural media entertainment, I'm a Marvel fan and supporter. I don't get really fanatic about many things, but with Marvel, I'm literally sort of like awed, inspired, and mildly jealous of, what elegant and interesting and well-crafted storytelling machine it has become, with a really strong, sense of collaboration from what I understand from the documentaries. Obviously, the documentaries are self-promotional fluff pieces. The ones on Disney Plus, no offense. Clearly, they're about making everything look awesome. But I digress. Some of the movies have got some interesting things going on with them that, some people may poo-poo, but I think, hey, why not check that? But that's for later on. Back to today's episode of what the hell was I talking about today? Lots of things. Speaking of other stuff and other websites that don't pay me to talk about them, but that I have a deep interest. Disney Plus did not pay me to talk about that. Disney Plus is not paying me to talk about WandaVision. I genuinely was just like, wowed by it. Some people didn't get it. Some people kind of got annoyed by it. The first 3 episodes, controversial. We'll talk about it in depth. Tune in. Forthcoming. Other thing, transitioning, pivoting to trumptracker.github.io. Thank you for your service. More Trumptopians should have gone to that website as soon as possible in their journey of brainwashing themselves into loving Trump, and maybe done some of that supposed hardcore research based on this information here, because it's really well documented. It's got dozens and dozens and dozens of sightings and stuff. It isn't some just like, oh, here we're reporting you facts that we have no backing up linkages. Well sourced, well displayed, well organized, factual information about the promises made and promises kept, promises not kept, etc. of the Trump administration. And WTF this morning when I get up to find that they don't have a Biden tracker. I gotta say, Trump tracker, you were golden in the Trump era. I'm a little disappointed. I don't know why you didn't see the same need and then didn't already have this up and going. I didn't know. I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't ask that question during the election. But I think I was kind of jaded AF during election season. I was burnt out. It was too long. And the most exciting thing for me was like my pipe dream list of things I would radically change about the entire election process if I could. Like if I magically had the authority and the public support with the proposal. So yeah, that's a whole nother episode. Put a pin in it. I think I've already done a dive into the ideas, but I want to like tighten it up. And I've been teasing it a lot, but I'll come back to it once I've gotten reorganized and resettled. 2020 sucked. So 2021, I'm trying to take it nice and easy, getting it kicked off. But yeah, I typed in Biden tracker onto the GitHub Addy, and I got a sad 404 error page. I might drop you an email, you guys, whoever. The thing is, I don't know who actually made it. Like there's an about us, but it doesn't tell me. It just sends me to like articles, I guess, that reviewed this page, but it doesn't tell me like, oh, here we go. There is somebody who maintains it. Inspired by. Okay, cool. Maybe I can contact these people. They should be doing a Biden tracker. So then I Googled BidenTracker.com, and PolitiFact has one. So we have that to look forward to. And everything else is kind of just different things. But PolitiFact has a Biden promise tracker page. They are not paying me to tell you about them. I'm just sharing it because I found it and I thought, cool. The rest of Trumptopia / America should take a look gander also to judge it and criticize it, see if it's bogus or if it's real, right? Because, why, friends? Why? Because no politician should be idolized. I don't care who they are. They're lovely people. They could be raging assholes. Either way, they must never become idols. For those, for many, many reasons. Never mind what's in the Bible about false idols before God. Because I'm no longer a Bible thumper. I am a retired Bible thumper. And that's a whole nother long story. Put a pin in that. We'll talk about it. Because it's really important to my fiction, too. It's kind of like woven in. I write stories. And if there was anything that I should be promoting on the show, although technically I can't sell you products on my podcast show. Luckily, I'm not. I'm sending you to a free book ready platformy thing where you can read samples of my very slowly evolving book universe, which I could honestly say, to many degrees, is deeply inspired by the Marvel universe. But hopefully original and interesting and standing on its own 2 feet. But if Marvel wants to pick up the Zeppo brand and work it in, that would be a dream come true. And I'm nowhere near having like pitch-worthy, ready, like comic book type style content. But that's sort of the dream. Digressing. I don't like the layout, PolitiFact. It's way too many pictures of Biden. I don't need that many pictures of Joe Biden staring at me because they're like little social media posts on the PolitiFact page, which is a Pointer Institute organization. Some people automatically dismiss PolitiFact as some like evil arm of the cabal, the lizard people, and or the Jewish sky laser manufacturers control it or something. I don't know. By the way, America, thumbs up, like sinking to awesomely silly, bordering on anti-Semitic new lows with this Jewish laser comedy phenomena. And huzzah to all the Jewish Americans who can kind of like use it and make fun of it and make humor out of it and then like flip it back in everybody's faces who's trying to like pretend that it's not anti-Semitic and crazy, stupid, insane. As someone who has survived actual forest fire events of the last several years and has been on the ground both during and after some of the forest fires in Southern California and Northern California, there was no fucking laser, Jewish or otherwise, or of any ethnic, origin, to be mildly, for that insinuating racial slur purposes, that you fuck that. I'm denouncing that, right? If the case it weren't clear. There were no lasers, There were forest fires, and they were real, and they behaved like actual forest fires. Most of the pictures used in the memes about how there was laser beams aren't even from fucking California, and that can be verified. Some of them are, and some of them are like perfectly normal fire phenomena, and then it's being described as if it was supernatural or unreal. But I don't want to launch into a tirade about that. That one just really annoys me because, I know people who've been deeply impacted by these forest fires, and it's my state, right? So, like, California strong, y'all suck. I haven't seen any laser beams. Nobody here has seen any laser beams. And every time I see someone personally promoting that and they engage with me in conversation, I challenge them with this. I said, listen, if you want to really, really, really research this for reals, like real research, not reading something on your favorite website or some YouTube video, like organize this, like make a real survey and like prepare yourself some questions and then hook yourself up with the fire department in California and get access to talking to firefighters and ask them what they think. Because they put their lives on the line and, worked themselves to the bone to fight these fires, and were there. And they live in the communities where they fought the fires. So, ridiculous and absurd, and I get it. Plausible to a certain degree, especially if you kind of have a hard time or really indulge in fantasizing in a sort of sci-fi kind of way. And that's how conspiracy theory content works. It seduces you with the plausible, using some things that are true, but then, creating a net result that's like nowhere near the actuality of the thing. But I digress. I'm spiraling out of control. We'll be back to PolitiFact's Biden tracker. I did want to just review the very top. At the very top, before all the onslaught, the visual onslaught of too many gross Biden faces poking out off the page. It's the same picture. It's him enthusiastically saying something in front of two microphones. And it's just weird. And he's not actually looking at you. It's just too many pictures of Biden over and over again. But here's the top line breakdown. According to this site that is not paying me to talk about this, I just, think y'all should go look at this for yourselves. 5 promises have been kept. 0 promises have been compromised on. 0 promises have yet to be broken. 0 promises have technically been stalled out. 12 promises are in the works. There's also a cool link about the principles of PolitiFact there. I really much preferred the format of Trump Tracker over at github.io. I don't understand that. That's a weird... What is that supposed to mean? That where's the .com or .gov or .edu? .io doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what it means. It makes me feel old. But you guys did it right. Thank you for doing it. That's enough of that. Oh, speaking of other platforms that did it right during the Trump era, that if you have yet to come across, you really need to go and check out, because it just rocks. And from what I understand, they are pivoting. Is it Thanks a Lot, Don? I adore them. I told them I was... Yeah. Over on Instagram, Thanks a Lot, Don. The account. Check them out. Give them some love. And, show some of these cartoons and posts to your Trump your blind faith Trump supporting friends because they're awesome. And they might sort of crack the humor widget. That's the only way to get through them, folks. Anybody who's still really clinging to Trump as some sort of God-sent savior needs to see Trump humanized. And what better way to humanize a person than to poke a little bit of fun at them? Now, obscenities and flat out just crazy calling like names and insults doesn't work, right? There's a line. And I think this account tactfully did it by farming the best content and compiling it all together. I don't know how this guy did it or where his sources were. I don't know. I'm an old fogey, right? Like, I grew up before the internet was the internet as we know it now, long before that. I grew up before pagers existed. Some people think the internet didn't exist back then. It did. The internet's been around since World War II, kinda, sorta. The bones of it. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. This account, they deserve some love. When was the last time you scrolled all the way down to the bottom of an Instagram account that you follow and like checked out their earliest work? That's an open door, humble invitation, humble flex invitation to my own at Mr. Zeppo on Instagram. If you're on Instagram and you got the free time, just come on by, spend 45 minutes, spell. Check things out. Look at old posts. Why? Because it's not photos of my food at restaurants. It's my own and other people's memes that I think have actually significant impact on one perspective. Or I don't want to define it too strong. They're just things I have passion about. Like, right? There's ideas and concepts and phenomena that can be investigated that I think y'all should check into. And also my political opinion. And go give some love to Thanks a Lot Don, because seriously, wow, I'm jealous. That's an account I wish I could have done something, that high level. Like nonstop 100%. I don't know how often they posted, but there's a lot of posts and it's all going all the way back to, the beginning. Much like my very own podcast is. So here we are, friends. We're literally living in the future. Oh, God, there's a hilarious picture of Trump trying to eat pizza, but also sort of doing it on, he's not going to actually eat it because he just wanted the picture, and it's backwards. He's eating it from the crust end in. Boom. The very first post. Thanks for hanging in there with me. The very first post on Thanks a Lot Don was posted on January 21st, 2017. And it's a comic, and I can never quite read the names of the comic. It's Paul something? Paul Noth, perhaps? And it's swearing in back in the day, and it reads, I quote, "And will do the best of my ability," which is terrific ability, by the way. Everyone agrees I have fantastic ability. So there's no problem with my ability, believe me. Which is just so delightful. He didn't actually say that at the actual swearing in, I don't think. But it's the way he really does talk, and it's a funny. My earliest favoritist poking fun at Trump meme is the fake meme, which tragically I'm sad it turned out, I think, to be debunked, where he is falsely quoted as having said that if he ever ran for office, he'd run in the Republican side because they're so dumb, they'd be easy to manipulate. Because I kind of knew it was fake. I knew Trump will tell you bluntly what he's doing, but he's got a knack for like smothering it in Trump talk so that he would never say it that bluntly. He would say it some other way that was like easy to not realize as a jab. Because he's just included so many words. I think one of my all-time favoriteest memes from that particular time, and Charlotte Cervero, I think. it's hard. Their signatures are always hard to read, but it's brilliant. Hand-drawn comic, and I'm jealous. I'm a huge, like, I love art. I love sketch art. I love that someone whipped this out, this drawing, and it's Sean Spicy Span, whatever his name was, at the podium, right, holding a page that reads alternate facts very bluntly, in the press room, in a nice depiction that clearly tells you, like, oh yeah, obviously that's the podium in the press room. And he's saying out loud, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength, 2017 is 1984. Brilliant work. And this account, thanks a lot, Don, has done a marvelous job of archiving it for history, for all of time. These memes will be here right now on this account. Keep it up. I know that they're pivoting, and apparently I was having a direct message conversation with this account once, a while back, and they said they were I thought they were gonna change the name of the account. I may have dropped the suggestion that they just keep this account and create a new one and then cross promote, because this should remain forever as an archive, as it is what it is. And if you change the name, all the posts in the past change, and it just sort of, it's the perfect, like, profile picture that has never changed, I think, throughout the 4 years. And it's just like the perfect like open criticism, free speech criticism collection of Donald Trump, memes and otherwise. There's a great meme, right? Like, this is no author attributed, and I don't know if this guy ever quoted me, but if I just scrolled through all of them and I didn't see any of mine like pop, but it's not impossible. There might be sitting there, I just didn't catch it. But it's awesome what this guy did, this account. I don't know if it's a man or a woman, I don't know. I just say guy generically. This personage. But I want to read this last meme before we move on to other things. Little did Trump realize... ... And I love that as an opener. And then there's a whole cliche in writing, and there's a whole culture of the cliche in writing. A little did they realize. There's even rules. There's some movie I watched where someone proposed or quotes rules about little did they realize and how it works, how it's supposed to work. But the bottom caption underneath I think it's a real picture of an actual real giant piñata, but it might be Photoshop. I don't know. If it's Photoshop, it's pretty darn decent. But it might actually be a really large piñata from some celebration in Mexico, because it all makes... I mean, my people would, right? I am from Mexico. And if that weirds you out, tough titty. So little didn't Trump realize that the Mexicans had devised a crafty plan to get through his wall. And of course the piñata is a giant horse or donkey. And, the sophisticate reference there is the Trojan horse. But also, piñatas are fun. But I digress. Enough of that. It's a great account. If you've never been, go. Add it to your collection of things that you follow. And, if you've never done it, scroll to the very, very beginning and start from there and kind of read it like a book, which is, in a way, something I also humbly encourage and invite you to do at my own. 47, haven't I? Boom. Moving on. Taking some things off. Right, we already talked about that. We already talked about that. Great. And it's time. I can always tell, because though he never speaks, his cybernetic eyes drill into the back of my skull. A Psytrance groove pad track for your enjoyment. Elementary, dear Watson. And we're back. What a world, my friends. The madness continues. The denying of reality itself is clearly a very powerful manipulative tool. As we can see, a great big huge chunk of America really wants Trumptopia to be a real thing and is probably clinging to some pipe dream fantasy that it is. The number of almost unbelievably insane conspiracy theories that I've seen floating around. And I don't even try really hard, you guys. Like, I'm not out there researching conspiracy theory in a really hardcore academic way, although I could be, because it fascinates me. But also, I've been observing it for so long, and I'm familiar enough with it, right? I don't know. It sometimes just burns me out. But from face-off like body surgery exchanges, which would have been physically impossible unless we had futuristic, cybernetic microsurgery with nanobots and healing beds, because like Trump and Biden were both seen at the same, day in different places. And there's some people talking about how Biden isn't really there and it's all CGI. Which, if you've seen Black Mirror, and of course, like I was just referencing the Marvel comic universe, the cinematic, if that's what the term is, right? It depends on which universe you're in. The use of CGI as sort of like a wearable mask or as makeup, as youthifying and ageifying, face-altering tools was pretty powerful. It's detectable. Like you can know that actor has been youthified, right? Like Samuel L. Jackson in Captain Marvel looks younger than Samuel L. Jackson in was it the third Die Hard movie, right? And and movies from before that. He looks impossibly young, and we know that he's not that young anymore. No offense, Samuel L. Jackson, you're one of my favorites. I think they underutilized you as Nick Fury, and I hope they give Nick Fury his own like full on like movie origins thing, and it's all either like CGI Samuel L. Jackson and living Samuel L. Jackson and hybrid some other actor wearing Samuel L. Jackson's face and with Samuel L. Jackson's voice blended, because they can do that shit. What's that other movie? Some other movie I just watched recently where they totally did that. You could tell it was a different actor, but they'd done something to his face so he looked more like the other actor playing the character, and they blended their voices. But you could also respect that, like, the youth character actor was also getting to be sort of themselves a little bit in it. I forget what movie I'm referencing, but whatever. The point is, I can see why it would be believable to come across, some wild, crazy conspiracy theory saying that there's no one in the White House and all the footage of Joe Biden working in the White House is fake and done in a studio on the moon, and that it's all CGI. But whoa, slow your fucking roll, boy. We have to stop and realize that like reality remains reality, and you can look at the world clearly if you don't cling to madness, in my humble opinion, I think. But then again, I've been accused of being categorically, like clinically insane. I've never been diagnosed of that. I don't think that I am, but I've been accused of it by people who can't wrap their brains around one or many aspects of my worldview and cosmological model as I propose it. Why am I talking about that? Why am I talking about any of this? Because the world is a crazy place, and the world is a crazy place, and we're still living through this pandemic, which, you know, a growing proportion of the world's population dismisses as some level of fake to some degree or another because of some conspiracy theory or another. And there's a bountiful cornucopia of conspiracy theories floating about, some of which have been kind of swept under the rug, some of which have been completely forgotten about. You know, and the same going, like, you can't go and you can't turn to anything without there being an accompanying echo chamber of conspiracy theory, which is really toxic in and of itself for a bunch of reasons. Even if some conspiracy theory content is to some degree true, the total sum of it, the world that is painted, the world that is created by conspiracy theory content, if you were to consume it all and assume that all of it is true, is painfully, obviously impossible and madness and insane. And there's too many competing, rivaling, like, non-reconcilable things. Like, are they robots? Are they vampires? Are they lizard people? Are they zombie? Like, big fucking... And I know that I'm making broad, sweeping, you know, mildly comedic generalizations about the whole thing, but at the center of my own worldview, which I'm using this show as a platform to share, I propose to you, dear friends and listeners, new and old, that it is critical, it is important that as a species, not just as society, right? Like society in America, society in other countries. Different, similar, common ground. You know where we have some common ground? Lots of people are dying, right? Of a disease that theoretically we could have totally prevented from getting as lethal as it's gotten. And sure, we could pat ourselves on the back for having theoretically prevented it from getting infinitely worse, because anything could have been infinitely worse. Great. But we also can't, like, waffle on, like, a real and actual practical, pragmatic response that makes sense and supports everyone. And as one great thinker of our time recently put it, lifts everyone up from the bottom, not from the middle, not each level on their own. As you may recall, I occasionally like to visit worldometers.info to check out their numbers as a sort of second opinion, third opinion. It's sort of a sounding board place to compare other numbers against and be like, okay, cool, interesting. Oh, and I already closed. Did I? Oh, no, here we go. Because, you know, the authority is Johns Hopkins and the CDC and the World Health Organization. Now, a bunch of people automatically, out of hand, dismiss those numbers because of insert your favorite conspiracy theory here. But what I like about Worldometers, as I've disclaimed in the past, is that they are a data-driven, best practices estimate kind of. They like to model that. So go check them out. They're not paying me to endorse them. I just find them useful as a place to sort of go, okay. Understanding that numbers vary from source to source, but generally speaking, you can hope for some sort of middle ground between all the variables and extremes. The world is facing a situation where 9,000 plus people a day are passing away from this thing that we theoretically coulda, shoulda, woulda cut off from being able to transmit itself months ago. We clearly, critically failed. Now, Am I a statist? Do I want to take everyone's freedoms away? Fuck no. Do I believe all the fear-mongering over on that side of the echo chamber? Fuck no. Somewhere in the middle. And this is a mind-blowing position for so many people. It really boggles my mind. What if, in the real world, what's really going on is the sort of plain, ordinary, simple, including sort of interesting, mystical things, but not worrying about that side of it yet. Just sort of a nice, plain, mundane, organic, like normative reel of like people are people. We are human beings. Everyone's flawed. No one is perfect. No human endeavor is absolutely anything one way or the other. But there's critical levels of fraud and greed and corruption and, let us not forget, plain old-fashioned incompetence at various levels all over the place. And that we all, every last one of us, bears an equal responsibility in making things better. One way or another, we must all contribute to the best of our abilities towards that, and we must hold ourselves and each other accountable to that sort of thing. And that we don't need evil Jewish laser beams from the sky and sharks with, neutron bombs implanted in their bellies, and we don't need superheroes and supervillains. Not to be rude to the MCU or any other entertainment universe in which there are superheroes and supervillains, but we have to remember and draw back that those heights of extremes are fanciful and not impossible, but not the most probable either. Right? Nazis living in the moon, getting ready to invade again, not very likely. But somewhere in the middle, between all the extreme case scenarios, there is the most probable. And to a certain degree, that is predictable within like organic and sort of probability waveform function driven norms. And I hate that word. Y'all should know. And remember, I'm not one for saying, let's get back to normal, because that normal wasn't fucking normal. Put a pin in that if you've never heard me say that before. I've talked about it before. I'll talk about it again. So, to wrap the show up today, folks, let's remember, as the world adjusts and recovers from the intellectual and psychological trauma that was inflicted by the Trump administration, because that is a very real thing, friends. The Trump administration not only manipulated their own sycophants and base, but the rest of the world. They got to, they impacted everyone with the daily exhaustion of having to put up with that dude's obsessions and crazinesses and eccentricities and terrible, terrible, terrible choices, right? Like as the millennials say, some terrible choices were made. And we're recovering from that and adjusting from that and moving away from that. And there's the whiplash of having to contend with those who reject the momentum of moving away from that. For better or worse, that's what's happening. Whether because it was a genuine and most secure election of all time, or because that's precisely what the system of oppression wants. Either way, I kind of think both of those are true. And because I do have an opinion on the system of oppression. Never let it be said falsely of me that I'm pretending there is no oppression going on. But it's just us. We're doing it to ourselves. We don't need blood-drinking demons from other dimensions. Are there blood-drinking demons from other dimensions? Who knows? But if the universe works the way I think it does, why the fuck should we vote for that? Right? When we can vote for a healthier, much more normative, much more organic focus on ourselves here in this womb that is giving birth to us and what we see and experience around us and can confirm and verify, right? That which we cannot confirm and verify, why manifest it? Why bring it into existence? I digress. Something's going on. Whatever the conspiracy theories claim, people are getting sick and dying. People who are weak and have comorbidities are getting sick and dying harder. A lot of those people are of minority ethnicity and live in underprivileged areas where there's all kinds of unjust things being made manifest, which benefits others to extremes which are immoral, right? Like, we live in a corrupt system long before Trump came to power and wanted to a fumble towards some attempt at a Trumptopian tyranny. Because I really do think he was playing with that kind of fire. And that should be not dismissed, but held accountable, right? And called out and healed, most importantly. Healed. Because where does all of that come from? Where does this raging incompetence and corruption come from? We can point fingers at individuals, or we can acknowledge, and I know that I just talked about a simple and organic and real reality that is normative and bar from extremes, and I don't think this is so extreme. And if it is extreme sounding, I think it's been vilified and marginalized and extremified on purpose by that system of oppression that I talk about. But that there is a spiritual level to it. To all of it, to politics, to conspiracy theory content, but it isn't what we generally are arguing about. It isn't organized religion versus organized religion. It isn't this ideology is the only righteous way, right? It isn't we need to kill each other over whatever, X, Y, and Z. And anybody who's ideating and behaviorating and masturbating to any kind of ideology that drives towards conflict and violence, you're doing it wrong. You're being misled by the ego trap of ego traps that is the system of oppression. For a reason. For a purpose that doesn't need to be any of the crazy, elaborate fear-mongering reasons. Because it's as simple as this. We have the power to recognize and connect to the divinity that is that which makes all, right? Odin Allfather was called Odin Allfather because he was the father of everything. And Odin was a symbol. Is he literally true? Maybe. Did we try to manifest him? Possibly, right? Same with all other images of God. The divinity, though, despite whatever ideation, whatever imagination, whatever ideology we've come up with, whatever narrative descriptions we've believed in and or thrown around and not believed in, despite all that, it either exists or doesn't exist, right? And independent of that question, the universe literally seems to operate as a manifestation mechanism. In other words, the observer is intricately involved in the phenomena of giving rise to that which is observed. Don't take my word for it. Go read the ancient mystics and some of the, cutting edge quantum mechanical physics and the commentators. There's all kinds of varying opinions about that, but ultimately I'm trying to bring to focus is that if the Schrodinger's cat box principle and everything else required, the probability waveform functions and the fractal mathematics and the sacred geometry convergence and all of that means that we vote for what we want to live through collectively with our minds through our thoughts and beliefs and feelings and energy. And that's part of the normal, everyday, regular, organic reality of being born on this planet. Not some crazy, impossible fiction, right? It sounds as crazy as UFOs and Jewish laser beams in the sky and lizard people in human skins. But it might also be the most crazy thing that's very organically real. Because it does seem to be based on a sophisticated understanding of how reality itself actually works. It's not some, but then again, all the mythologies and all the craziest ideas are somebody's attempt to describe what they think is actually going on. But if that is the case, as I pitched to you, friends, why vote for the crazier things? Why not vote for that like Zen through line of like organic divinity, which can be very, very real and seems to be the most the most verifiable? For I and others have thrown out about, I'm not alone, I think, in saying that it is possible to confirm the existence of energy and that which we describe as divinity through direct personal witnessing. It's just not where we've been misguided to look. It's elsewhere. It's deep inside and beyond and within, in sort of a, quantum dimension of our actual physiological being. Why argue about other ideology? Why argue about politics and religion? Why fight and kill each other over it if we can directly experience and confirm for one another through direct experience a better thing, a better way, a better modality of being, a better description of divinity, and a better directly a better, like, what am I trying to say here? Phenomenologically organic and healthy way of organizing our societies. If we understand each other all to be one great happy family of divinity making clones for itself to be a bipedal talking ambulatory meat sack of blood and bones sitting on this womb to observe the universe, which is itself making it all happen, then we probably wouldn't do all the other dumb, stupid, corrupt, evil things. Somebody asked me recently, how do we heal when the world is on fire? How do we heal when 9,000, almost 10,000 people a day are dying from some stupid, crazy disease? And that's just in addition to everything else that people are dying from. And, that's being used against us in an alarmist, fear-mongering kind of way. And that the very incompetence of the evil New World Order to vaccinate us all is failing. And flip-flopping all over the place in terms of, not very well distributed. And not reaching the self-stated desired goal. Like, what's really going on in that department? How do we heal in the midst of all this chaos, which is traumatic in and of itself? And that's a big, huge question, friends, which I want to leave you for a hot minute to contemplate. And I'll be back to talk about it even more so than I already have. But I'll give you a one-sentence thing, like, how do we heal in the midst of the world being on fire? One breath at a time. Because no matter what you do, that's the only way you can do it. Whether you're freaking out and panicking about the disaster clusterfuck that is reality, the ideological, political reality that we've created for ourselves, or whether you're busy ignoring it and profiteering on something, or whether you're obliviously ignoring everything and doing something else, or you're deeply concerned about it and trying to find a way to solve it, or you're really fixated on this issue or that issue and working hard to fight the good fight. Whatever you're doing it one breath at a time. That's how you survive the dumpster fire. That's how you not only survive, but reconnect and rediscover how to thrive and heal. One breath at a time. Don't overcomplicate things. Stop and focus and listen and turn inwards and be present for that one breath. And if you can only do it one breath at a time for 4 breaths, that is beautiful work, worth doing. Believe it or not. Don't take my word for it, though. Go do it. Stop stressing out about whether or not you can do it. Stop giving yourself excuses not to do it. And I know I sound crazy, but believe it or not, I really firmly am convinced, because I do not like saying that I believe. I don't believe in the Constitution. That sounds horrible, right? But it's not a religious document. I recognize it, I honor it, I acknowledge it, and I want to look through it closer and closer to see where are the flaws and where we can make it better. Because as someone pointed out recently in the mainstream media, it's very difficult to amend, but it is designed to amend and be amended. And we cannot blindly believe in it because that's how they use it against us. That's how they use everything against us, right? That's what went wrong with organized religion. They started saying, believe in this. Not question it, not build consensus with it as a living document, not come to terms with it and what it means, not investigate it and understand it. Believe in it. And when you use belief incorrectly, it's a blind cudgel to the face. And it does you no good. God, by the way, and I don't mean to speak for God, I think I can speak to this following statement probably being true. I think critically that it is logically most likely to be true, that God does not actually really require our belief. It's so narcissistic and egotistic of him to be that guy. I need you to believe in me. That's what tyrants do. Why would the divine source of all living and loving and being necessitate that sort of requirement? Why would that being need that? Unless we're misunderstanding belief. Something to think about. But I've rambled on long enough. The show has reached its limit. It's about to be 69 minutes and 69 seconds long in just a bit. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank everybody. I want to say, hey, yo, world. The world's messed up. The U.S. and Mexico are leading the world in new daily coronavirus deaths. Brazil is not far behind. And tragically, the U.K. is right there in the middle. Russia, Colombia, Portugal, Indonesia, Germany, Spain, Italy, South Africa, France, Peru, Turkey, India, Chile, Japan, Poland, and Canada. Canada is in 20th place with only 90 people. Not bad, Canada. Keep up that better work. But all of this has been a clusterfuck of failure, right? Which we should hold everybody accountable. We shouldn't be arguing about whether Trump did it worse than Biden did. Right? Biden's been in office for what, 11 days? Not to be an apologist, right? Don't confuse me for what I'm not. I posted that meme years ago that this is the face I make when Republicans accuse me of being a Democrat and Democrats accuse me of being a Republican. And it's that actor whose name I don't recall in that Indiana Jones hat making that face. I started one thing and got sidetracked on another. We can, could, shoulda, woulda done better all of 2020. And we can, could, shoulda, woulda do better now all of 2021. And we shouldn't be just fighting about vaccine conspiracy theories and whether or not they work. We should be holding everything and all of it accountable. Because even if they are functional and they aren't about microchipping anybody, and they aren't going to mutate us into clones of some evil, insert your favorite villain here, the whole thing could be done differently and better. And the whole thing, Big Pharma is still Big Pharma, right? Like, I'm not naive. Anyways, I'm trying to wrap things up. Boom, here we go. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, from Spain to Cyprus to France to Australia to Canada to the UK to Germany to India to good old Trumptopia of the US of A. Thanks for tuning in. I have been your humble host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo, and this has been the 404th episode of my humble podcast of many podcasts. And we will let it go with this little bit of outgoing music. Thanks for listening. May peace, love, and grooviness blossom in your hearts.
Is the latest news breaking news. We now return you to your regularly scheduled brainwashing. Thank you for listening.
Hey Myanmar, angry Buddha says you're doing it wrong.